Hello friends, my name is Marina and this is Rapunzel Fiber Arts. So in a couple of my recent videos I've talked about Alchemy Fiber Mill. They are a local to me mill in East Hampton, Massachusetts, and I've really been enjoying what they've been producing for me. I've been bringing them a couple fleeces. I brought them some dyed Gotland BFL in an earlier video that they processed for me, and I spun up a ton of yarn in a couple weeks after that for a spinning competition using, again, the fiber that they processed for me, which was fantastic. It was really nice stuff, but if you're interested in that, I will link the video. Additionally, I mentioned that I had sent a couple more fleeces to them, two of which I have gotten back and sampled. There was a BFL and a Corriedale that they've gotten back to me. There's also a Cormo that experienced some issues. We don't have to get into the details, but I'm still waiting on that. But I wanted to show you the samples I did, and I also wanted to show you the Corriedale spinning process because I'm spinning it long draw and really, really enjoying that. But first of all, here's the BFL, or blue-faced Leicester. You can see it's got a really nice, shine to it, and it's a little bit of a yellowish white, kind of cream colored, maybe pearly, and I really like how this worked up. It's not the most consistent spin, but that's kind of the case with roving as opposed to comb top. But I really liked working with it. It spun very smoothly and really just turned out quite beautifully. You can kind of see it better if my face is obscured. So that's the blue-faced Leicester. And then I'm going to compare that with the Corriedale. And you can see how much whiter the Corriedale is than the BFL. It's also a lot more matte. It doesn't have that same sheen that the BFL has. And sorry, the light is just washing out those colors every time my face comes in and out of focus. But anyway, this is the star of the show for this video. This Corriedale was from a fleece or a sheep named Sonia, and it's been sitting in my stash for a while. I've been intending on combing it, but I couldn't quite get that last bit of lanolin out, so I had them give it one more rinse to get all of the lanolin out. I don't really like having lanolin in stuff that I'm spinning. I find that it's kind of sticky or tacky in texture, and I don't love that on my hands when I'm spinning. So I had them give it another wash to get all of that out, and then they did a pick and 2 cards, just like they did on the Gotland BFL fiber that I had them process. And, well, this is the product of that. This is the roving that they produced for me. You can see it's pretty smooth. There's not really any neps in the fiber that you can see through the wool, which is fantastic. And you can see when I spin it, I'm going to show you how I kind of sample yarn with my hands. Just kind of add, twist, and draft. Doesn't matter which way you're twisting. This is just a sample. But you can see, as I draft that it just turns into yarn. We've got a little bit of a slub here, so let's go back and fix that. Like that. But you can see how quickly that turns into yarn. And all I have to do is pull. Like, I'm not really doing anything with these fingers other than maintaining tension. And it makes yarn very, very easily. So that's essentially what I'm doing with my long draw. The spinning wheel adds twist a lot better than I can, because right now that's just going to pull apart. But the spinning wheel can add twist a lot more efficiently than me. So I'm able to spin very quickly using this long draw technique, which I will show you in just a minute. But first, I want to show you how much fiber I have. Now this is about 3 pounds that I'm working with. It's just under that, but it's quite large, and that's really due to the process. Hang on, I'll pull it up and show you. So there's quite a bit of roving in here. You can see this bag is quite full, at least compared to me, and I'm a large person, so that's not insubstantial. And that's fantastic. I like a nice airy fiber prep. It makes for a really nice, easy to draft spinning process, which is what I've been experiencing as I'm spinning this fiber up. So in just a minute, we're going to switch over from this to you watching me spin, so you can see a little bit of that process as I work at it. All right, friends. So here I am spinning long draw. I was gonna just get some B-roll footage, but if my face isn't in the shot, the lighting keeps getting messed up every time I kind of move my arm forward like this. It like washes everything out, kind of like what was happening in the little intro a couple minutes ago. So you're just gonna have to look at my face and listen to me talk while I kind of describe what I'm doing here. So I have my e-spinner set up on the table right here, just out of frame, and I have a big ball of fiber just here, and I am drawing directly from that ball of roving and just doing some long draw. So long draw is different from the way I generally spin. I generally spin something more like this, like a short forward draw, where you're really controlling the twist with these fingers and pinching out a lot of the air in the fiber. Whereas with long draw, which is a more woolen style of spinning, you are allowing twist into your drafting area. So this hand is pinching, but it's not preventing twist from getting into this fiber supply. And that's pretty typical for a woolen style of spinning like long draw. You want to let that air get incorporated with the fibers, and that'll help hold warmth better in your finished object, and it won't be quite as durable as a woolen spin, but it'll be warm and soft and fuzzy and cozy and all kinds of lovely things like that. So when I find a fiber that spins long drawn nicely for me, like this one is, you'll see I have to keep my eyes on it to make sure I'm at a fairly consistent weight of yarn. But other than that, the fiber does kind of spin itself. Like I'm doing slight pinches with each hand. This one to allow twist into the fiber supply at a consistent rate. And then with this hand, I'm just kind of gently drafting backward, doing little pinches to try to attenuate the fibers and make them spin into a nice, consistent weight of yarn. And then because I'm working with an e-spinner, I just let that twist build up as I draft, and then let it just get sucked right onto the e-spinner. But you can do this very easily on a treadle wheel. This is how spinning on a grate wheel typically goes. Generally, you're using the other hand because assuming you're using a right-handed grate wheel, your right hand is what turns the wheel and your left hand drafts. So I would be doing it with the opposite hand. But when I'm spinning on my e-spinner, I much prefer drafting back with having my fiber supply be in my right hand. I believe that is atypical. Generally, you use your right hand as your forward hand from what I've seen others do. But I'm fairly self-taught. I took a drop spindle class when I was first starting out and then adapted that to a spinning wheel pretty independently. So some of my techniques might not be what would be taught, but that doesn't mean it's not like a valid way of spinning. I'm making yarn and I make really nice yarn. So, yeah. I'm not going to say that I'm doing something wrong here because I'm not. I'm just doing it differently. So hopefully that made sense. So we're getting a little bit rambly here, but hopefully you are able to watch what I'm doing with my hands and understand what I'm describing as I describe the process of doing long draw. And hopefully it's making sense. This is definitely a skill that requires practice. But once you get the hang of it, assuming your fiber is amenable, I find that getting fiber that works well for long draw can be tricky. You want something that has a bit of a woolen prep so that the fibers are not all aligned, they're a little bit crisscrossed, and that enables them to grab onto each other more easily. They're not quite as slippery, and that makes it form into yarn very nicely. I also have a fairly short staple length here, probably 3-ish inches with some variation, and that helps. You don't want something very long. Something like cotton with a very, very short staple length, you spin long draw because it lends itself very nicely to shorter fibers. So I wouldn't go much shorter than a 3-inch staple length for spinning long draw. And again, it's lots of practice, lots of, losing your fiber and needing to start over again. But with practice and with repetition, you're able to get to a point where the fiber does kind of spin itself. Like, I'm not exerting a lot of control over this yarn that I'm creating. I'm just letting it kind of do what it wants to do. It wants to be pretty consistent. It wants to be pretty fine. And then every so often I'll check like I just did there, and I'll do again here, just to make sure that it's not slipping apart, not underspun. I generally struggle much more with underspun than overspun fiber or yarn. Just the way the place that I'm at right now, I tend to not put quite enough twist into my singles and plied yarns. So I like to test that, especially with long draw, because that adds durability, and long draw and woolen spun yarns are generally less durable, so making sure you have enough twist in there, at least to hold it together, is definitely a good thing. Again, this is a Corriedale fleece that I purchased several years ago now and washed, but couldn't quite get all the lanolin out. And so I had sent it over to my local mill, which is Alchemy Fiber Mill in East Hampton, Massachusetts, and had them give it another wash to get the last of the lanolin out, and then pick and card it into roving. And it turned out really, really nicely. I love spinning long draw when the fiber is amenable, as we've discussed, and finding a whole supply of fiber that is well prepped for long draw is thrilling. So I'm excited about that. I'm definitely going to continue utilizing that mill because I've had really positive experiences there. The folks really know what they're doing. They're good, smart fiber people who have been fiber people for a while and are translating their knowledge and their expertise into working at a mill. And they're learning. It's a learning process as they get more familiar with the equipment and stuff like that. But I think that they're doing a really fabulous job of creating spinning fiber and finished yarns that are really quite nice. And they're also doing a lot of really nice community building stuff, just in terms of having a lot of events which are open to the public and educating people about fiber arts, which I think is fantastic. So, all in all, I'm very happy. I think that this fiber is spinning up just beautifully. I'll show some images of my bobbin in a minute. Oops, I just dropped that ball of fiber. I'm going to be spinning this for quite a while because I have almost 3 pounds of it, and I'm spinning it pretty fine, and I'm spinning it woolen, which takes less fiber weight per diameter of yarn because it's airier. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, I'll try to elaborate more in the comments. Just hit me up with any questions in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. So I'll be busy with this stuff for a while, so I'm not gonna show you guys finished yarn beyond that sample skein I showed you earlier. But I just wanted to demonstrate a little bit of long draw and I guess have a little bit of a chat with you about this fiber and spinning and the mill that I got this processed at and everything else that we've talked about. So hopefully that was informative and enjoyable to watch. I hope that you're having a fantastic week and you enjoyed watching me spin long draw. If you have anything you would like to ask me, like I said, leave me a comment down below and I will definitely get on answering your questions if you have any. Feel free to like or subscribe to let me know that you enjoyed this content and you would like to see more like it. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends.